Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. There you've got three extra goods. And welcome to the latest edition of Free Thought Hour from wherever you are in the world, in space and time. And I'm pleased to say that we've got my usual co-host, Tercia. How the devil are you?
Well, I'm definitely not in hell because, as you can see, I'm wearing my little beanie. Well, I don't know if it's a beanie,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
and
okay.
I sent you some videos of the inclement weather that we've had for the
Mm,
past
yeah,
week, in fact.
yes. That river, it's this wide.
Well, the breed in Afrikaans means broad,
Mm-hmm,
the broad river. But
mm-hmm,
I'll take. We went out yesterday afternoon. That's where I took that video recording,
mm-hmm.
and I kid you not, uh, that river. I don't think I've seen it like that in the past 12 years. There's been
Yeah.
severe damage. There's been road closures. There's been.
Mm-hmm,
I don't know if anybody's died, but I know there's
mm-hmm,
been severe property damage. We've had
mm-hmm.
wind and rain,
Mm-hmm. Mm,
and the dams are overflowing.
yeah.
So we are the Cape of Storms in every sense of the word.
Ooh, yeah.
So yeah,
It
yeah,
was certainly disobeying its banks. The banks were there and the river was beyond. Yeah.
yeah,
So I hope
absolutely.
that
So
your personal locality is still dry.
yes, fortunately, I
Mm-hmm.
am lucky to have been born in one of the privileged classes. We live in a double-story house, and we live in town,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a century or so old structure, so it
Mm-hmm.
must have withstood some storms in the past. I
Yeah.
do feel
Mm,
sorry for people who live in shacks in
mm,
weather like
mm,
this. I know that thousands have been misplaced,
mm,
and thousands of people have lost all their worldly possessions because of flooding,
mm, mm,
because we do have shanty towns in South
mm.
Africa.
Yeah. Mm,
Khayelitsha is one of those places, and it's
mm,
really bad for people who don't have what we have. So what
mm.
I have, as
Yeah.
I often, I just saw my kitty cat Picasso. She's lying in front of the heater and she's having fun and playing. I often have these bouts of guilt where I look
Yeah.
at my pets,
Mm,
my two dogs and
yeah.
our cat.
Mm,
They have a better life than most
yeah.
humans on this
Yeah,
planet.
yeah, yeah. Well, as you said, you were lucky in your choice of parents. You were born
Yeah.
privileged. Yep. And so was I. I chose my parents very wisely too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm eternally grateful that I wasn't born in, for example, Afghanistan or Gaza. Hey? I mean, this is just chance, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
Mm.
And on that note, why don't you give us some information about our guest who was in the studio and went to get something to drink, and now he hasn't reappeared since. So let's
He,
hope for the
he's
best. But
he,
please tell
he's
us about him.
Okay, he's just come in, so we don't need
Fantastic.
to pad anymore. So yes,
Good.
he's a northern Nigerian ex-Muslim, and so we're only going to speak with him. It's an audio interview with him because he's not going to appear on camera because, of course, there might be risks entailed by doing that. We don't want to be the cause of him coming to any harm. Anyway, so shall we welcome him? Welcome,
Let's do.
Llewellyn Dave.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're able to communicate with us, even if not visually. So the normal thing in these interviews is they're informal chats. Really, it's not like an audition or anything, anything serious. But the normal pattern is we ask you, our guest, how you got to be the person that you are today, and I imagine that's an interesting story in your case. In fact, I know because you and I have had a private chat before, and you've told me some of your background. But then the next question, well, I'll leave this to Tercia because she usually comes in with 3 or 4 in a row. so, am I going to call you Dave or Levelin? What do you say?
It's unstable. I want to.
Sorry, you're
I
not
want
very
to
loud.
make sure that my network is good.
Yeah, you need to be nearer your microphone, I think. Yeah. Okay. Hello. You were there. Now you're gone. Oh, he's really gone. Oh dear.
Okay, and of course, it should be said, Dave. Now I'm calling you Dave. So if Joe Biden can do that, why can't I? So, I mean,
yes.
But it should also be said that our guest is in northern Nigeria. We do know that there could be connectivity problems.
Yes. Yes.
Possibly. I mean, in South Africa, we have connectivity. Well, you've had connectivity problems. So
yeah.
It happens. Technology is not infallible. A lot like God, technology is extremely fallible. Except I think technology is better than God, John, because it's real. The internet is real. It fails us sometimes,
but it usually works, which can't be said of God. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, he's back. Okay, let's try and add him again. He's only going to be on audio, so we'll hopefully hear his voice. Hello, you're back, and you're muted. Ah, good. Can you give us an audio check, Dave? Can you speak? Calling 1212. James Apperson. Hello, James. Thank you for watching.
Hi.
We can hear you now. Good. Okay. So I don't know how much you heard me say earlier on. Do I call you Dave or do I call you Levelin? Pardon?
Levelin.
Okay. Yeah, Levelin. Yeah. So we have a bit of a lag, it seems, here, which isn't going to help.
Yes.
And I don't know how your connectivity is. I know that the last time you and I spoke, you didn't have enough bandwidth for a picture. Camera wasn't.
Yes.
Camera didn't work properly, did it? You got frozen all the time. So we decided that for those 2 reasons, the connectivity and your personal risk, we would just do an audio interview with you. So, Levelin, here we go.
Yes.
Can you tell us how you got to be the person you are today, please?
Right. It all I traveled to Lagos from my state, Yobe State.
Can you speak louder, please?
Can I be heard clearly now?
That's better. Good.
Hello, can you hear me clearly now?
We can now, yes.
So
you were telling me when we had private chat, you told me you had an unusual upbringing. You were like an orphan?
Yeah, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't an orphan when I was a little kid. I became an orphan when I was in SS1. That was when my father parenting all by myself. So that was more or less the reason. Other things which I didn't have the privilege to know when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, all I knew was Islam, and every other person around me was a Muslim, because northern Nigeria, I
The connection's droppy.
didn't have what it is like to be anything else other than.
So you were,
Hello.
hello, yes, you were taken to a school, a boarding school?
No.
No? Do tell us what you can safely.
By say it again.
Keep going.
Okay, I should keep going. All right. So um, going to old views I was not familiar with as a kid from Muslims who switched from mosque to church, who would go to church on Sunday and go to. I got curious and talked to a few of them, and the response I got was that if Islam, uh, they will still go to heaven, and if it is Christianity, they will still go to heaven. And I also came across people who did not believe in practicing religion, although I could not, I cannot find somebody who was an atheist who didn't believe in God, but I kind of
Oh,
became familiar with what it was like to start asking questions.
uh-huh,
So, returning to my village from Lagos, I now got admission in a college of education where I was trained to be a teacher.
uh-huh.
So,
So can you tell
in
me,
the
where,
college,
can I,
right?
Llewellyn, can I just say that you're speaking to two teachers? I'm a retired teacher, and Tercia
Wow,
is still teaching. So we are in
wow,
comrades
what a
in that respect. But I'd like you to tell us what age group you teach or what subjects you teach. Can you do that?
all right. I teach English language and literature
Mm-hmm.
to students ranging from 10 years to 15 years, 16 or so.
Uh-huh.
And that's as a formal teacher. I also participate that seeks to equip children with literacy skills, literacy and numeracy skills, because Nigeria happens to be, I mean, northern Nigeria particularly, happens to be this part as a lot of the 2011 actually, I'm not sure, said that about 11 million children have never seen the four walls of classroom.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
Mm.
John, can I come in
who
here
are
quickly for a
working
moment?
with NGOs.
Sure. Sure. Tercia's going
Yeah,
to have a few words now.
okay.
Lebanon, I want to ask you whether you teach any girls and what is the attitude towards teaching girls?
Mm.
Yeah, my students combine, are from all genders. I teach boys and girls, all of them.
Mm.
I'm very
Good.
Yeah.
glad to hear that. Then I would
Mm.
like to ask you, where did you learn your English? And I would like
Mm.
also, I do this, I ask two
Mm.
questions always, at least two. Where did you learn it? And how did you come to love the English language and literature?
Oh, um, yeah. It all. I mean, my interest in English and its literature was whose name I can't even remember at the moment because I met the person in Lagos, and He was
Yeah.
because at some point I wanted to be a writer,
Uh-huh.
and I got that ambition from reading uh, a text by Walter Rodney, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. So,
Oh.
I have this crazy rebellious mindset even as a kid. I wanted
Uh,
to do something, to you know, kind of, uh, uh, I'm looking for the word for it.
you're
Kind of,
you're you're
to kind of challenge
yes, you're a free
these
thinker. That's what you
the
are.
existing, or to, let me say, to challenge the authority. So I wanted
Mm.
to write something which is true but people don't want to hear.
Uh-huh. Mm.
So I told this person about it, and he told me that if I wanted to be a writer, a good writer for this reason, I should consider studying English, because
Uh-huh.
studying English would give me an edge, over other writers,
Yes.
because for some reason English happens to have a wider coverage than many other languages I may wish to
Yes.
write in, more especially the indigenous languages we have in Nigeria.
Yes. What would be
So that
what was your native language then? Did you have what is it, Hausa or
no,
um, Igbo or
Kanuri language,
what was the
northeastern.
first what was the first language that you spoke?
John,
Say it again.
go ahead, John.
What was the first language that you spoke when you were really young?
It was Hausa,
Hausa. Yes. Yes.
of
Mm.
in the northeast. It
And
was
then you
spoken.
met then you met this person
Was
in Lagos. He had a big influence. Can you tell us how you met him and who he was?
John, the
hello.
best thing about
Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Going to Lagos happened after my secondary school. After I graduated from secondary school,
Mm-hmm.
because I was looking to continue my education.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Speaking Hausa is because that has to do with my father. My father
Uh-huh.
didn't live in the northeast, because northeast is the part of Nigeria where you have the Kanuri language, while Hausa is spread all over the northeast for business and
Mm-hmm.
with the family, to a state, to Kaduna State, where I was born.
Uh-huh.
And because Hausa was the first language I started speaking. So later on, after my father and mother got separated,
Mm-hmm.
my mother came back to the northeast with me and two of my younger sisters,
Uh-huh.
taught the Kanuri language.
But then you spent some time as a child in a what was it, a roaming school or something you were telling me?
Oh yeah, in Almajiri school. That was
Mm-hmm.
after coming back from Kaduna, after some years with my grandparents,
Can you tell us about that?
around.
As we're not used to that sort of school here. Can you tell us what that's like?
Oh, the Almajiri school uh, is a non-formal school for uh, the teaching and learning of the Quran, or I could say for the memorization of the Quran.
Uh-huh.
And it was kind of like a culture in the north.
Uh-huh.
Parents send their children to another where they do not live. For instance, one may wish to send his son to another town far away from here,
Mm-hmm.
from the parents, from family, in the under the guidance of a Quranic teacher who would learn to memorize. The children would have to defend upon themselves
Oh,
for
there was work, wasn't
food,
there?
clothing,
Yes.
and other basic necessities of life. To do that, they have to bake, carry a bowl,
A begging bowl.
begging for food
Yes.
and and other things. So I happened to attend such school between 2005 and 2012.
Wow. 7 years of
Yes,
hand-to-mouth existence. That's not a very good way to get an
yes.
education, is it?
Yeah.
No.
And that was
What
then.
is all right?
Sorry.
I'm listening.
I want to ask, so when you get sent to a school like that, I presume that you don't get any other schooling. That is then the school that is your education. Is that right?
Please, may you say it again? I didn't hear you well because the network was breaking. The
Okay.
connection was breaking.
I was asking, if I'm understanding you correctly, then if you get sent to such a school, then that is your education. You don't get any other education together with that type of Quranic education. That is then replacing your what you, John, and I would call proper education. Is that right?
Okay. Is a very the northern Nigeria is a very diverse religiously. There are uh, that their children should enjoy both Islamic education and Western education.
Oh,
Those
really?
who only believe in the Islamic education of school. That's the to get. You'll see in Nigeria today
Well, that's not Boko
underwent
Haram.
such education, and that was where they were groomed to become the cleric that they have become today in a very conservative.
That's not Boko
This
Haram then, is it? Because that's from Niger, really, isn't it? Further north than northern
Boko
Nigeria.
Haram is a different issue, but I would like to add that the founder of Boko Haram jury at some point in his life
Say that
grew up
again.
as an Almajiri.
Can you say
See
that again,
today,
please?
I said, it's Mohammed Yusuf, the founder of Boko Haram, the person, the
Mm-hmm.
mastermind behind Boko Haram.
Yeah.
He went to an Almajiri school and he got a
Did he? Oh, right.
uh,
I see. Mm-hmm. Good job you didn't turn out that way then.
um I don't, but I'm of the opinion that most of the uh, terrorists that we have in the country, bandits and
Mm.
all other groups that carry out atrocious activities
Yes.
north today were a victim education.
Ah,
Education.
I see.
I missed that, John. Could you repeat that for me, please?
Well, he's saying that most of
Yeah,
the,
it.
because
I am of the opinion that
yeah,
uh, people that bring unrest,
yes,
the Boko Haram, the bandits, and the that we happen to hear, uh,
they went to the same sort of school, the Al Majori.
victim of such Al-Majri school.
Yes, yes.
Ah,
So,
mm,
in northern
Education.
Nigeria, Tessia, in northern Nigeria, they have motorcycle AK-47 bandits,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
they're coming in from further north in Niger, which is an ex-French colony, and the French have not been able to keep control of it. In fact, I think they've given up trying, and
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, and so it's horrible the way these boys on motorcycles with guns
mm,
run amok. Mm,
Yeah. And most of them, were groomed, were
yeah,
toughened from such education,
yeah,
or I would call it, I like to call it miseducation,
yes.
because
miseducation. Yes,
yeah, it's unfair to be brought up that way, and
yes,
being brought up that way, you get to lose your sense of human dignity, human
yes, yes,
sympathy, and human sanctity. You end
yes,
up, not uh, uh, being considerate for the pain you may cause
yes,
to others by destroying their wealth, or by killing them or their loved ones.
yes. It's a very antisocial mindset, isn't it? Yes. So, but you mentioned that you also had experience of churches. How did that happen?
Yeah, that was after I left this town and traveled to Lagos.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, when I was looking for money to continue my education, so I
Yes.
traveled to Lagos. Lagos is a state in the north,
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
southwestern part of Nigeria. The
Christian
state
mostly.
is yes,
Mm,
yes, yes, is mostly Christian, and
Yeah.
is a very liberal environment,
Yeah.
being once the capital of Nigeria.
Yeah.
So it's a diverse environment, and it's free environment where you have people living more or less secular life,
Yes. Yes.
I
And
could say.
it's a port, isn't it? So there's lots of international
Y-
trade.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
So that opened me up to experiences I would otherwise have not may not have witnessed.
No, you wouldn't have met them. That's true. You were very lucky to be able to do that. So
Yeah.
Abuja is now the capital, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
So coming back from Lagos, started attending uh, college, and
Mm-hmm.
from college, I uh, was introduced to philosophy of education.
Yeah.
So, where I started learning about the pre-Socratic philosophers, the natural philosophers, and I took special interest in how those philosophers, see the world. Because when I, uh, start reading about them and about their ideas, so I became convinced that this was how I saw my world. This is how I want to see the world. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even as a child, even when I was in the elementary school, I usually say I don't believe in ghosts and witches and wizards. And
Wasn't
anytime I say
wasn't that quite brave to be saying that?
yes, but it was not as if saying it was not as worse as saying you didn't believe in God, because there are people who may have some doubts in this, and it is a little uh, tolerable than atheism,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was seen as a minor doubt that could be dealt with. So anytime I said that I got beaten, I got you know
Did
uh,
you?
s-
Yeah.
yeah. So I learned to stop expressing my opinions about them because
Yes.
of the angry reactions I received saying them.
Yes. Yes. Well,
So
some.
knowing about the pre-Socratic philosophers gave me courage,
Yes. Yes.
to continue to explore and find myself.
Well done. Yes. So somebody else in your part of the world who upset the authorities is, of course, is Mubarak Bala.
Yes, my
Mm.
hero.
Is he? Yes. Poor
Yes,
guy. Poor guy. He's been in jail 3 years now.
yes. I read a news recently that said that he was to be freed. So I don't I do not understand the details um,
Mm.
of the situation, but I read it on news that
Well, that'll be good news if he isn't
yes,
allowed out. Yes.
yes, but I
Uh,
ask.
Tercia?
I want to know a little bit more about your daily life. Do you teach at a school, and at the school that you teach, do you have to hide the fact that you are not religious?
Yes, I teach in a private school, um, and like I said, I also worked for an NGO. But it's a kind of contract that will that normally expires in September's, that I would have to renew by
Mm-hmm.
reapplying and showing my interest for the job, which I will
Mm-hmm.
not do this year. This
Uh-huh.
year, I'm sadly going to quit the job for to concentrate on my education, as I am now pursuing my bachelor's.
Are you? What in?
Yes, in English
Uh-huh.
linguistics. So um, the place I will call my primary place of assignment is a private school. So I've
Mm.
been teaching in the school since my graduation from college. So if I reveal my status for being an atheist, I would most definitely lose my job.
Oh, don't do that
And
then.
yes,
Mm.
and losing my job means uh, putting my education to a halt,
Yeah.
because I worked and study. With the money I make from the work, I fund my education.
Yes,
So I
yes,
have to be careful.
education costs money, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to
So,
be careful,
yes.
and many things, many things actually. I would go. I would go through a lot of horrible experiences if I would uh, declare my disbelief to the school.
Well, and do you have a good university or college that you can do your BA at, your bachelor's at?
Yeah, I'm still I'm currently attending the university. I'm going to the university. I'm having my lectures. I'm in 300 level now.
Good.
Um, if all goes well, next year this time I would be graduating.
Oh,
Well,
wonderful.
let
So
us
that will
know.
be Yes, go ahead.
I, I was saying, let us know when that happens, because that would be fantastic. I want to ask you, uh, us, do you teach mostly in, the type of content where it's fairly easy to steer away from any controversial topics? Or if you don't, do you find that you sometimes have to check your tongue not to say anything in response to uh, content matter that you deal with? And how do you cope with
Um,
that?
so there is a curriculum I have to follow,
Hmm.
and the curriculum is designed by the Nigerian policy in education. Um, the same content I will be teaching in my classes, the content you are going to meet in any other class that is like my own. So
Uh-huh.
there is nothing to worry. There is nothing to worry.
Okay. Does Nigeria have, at least on paper, a secular constitution? I actually have no idea.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Yes, Nigeria is popular for what is known as policy without implementation. There
Yes.
is
Yes.
the policy, but implementation is another matter. So
Yes.
Nigeria is a secular country, at least constitutionally,
Yes.
but the reality is another story.
Yes. Yes. The Constitution is
Yes,
ignored.
because yes, Nigeria, you can easily become a Deborah Samuel if you like.
Mm.
Well, the same is
Are you
true in
out?
South Africa. The same is true in South Africa. So I don't know if you know, Levelin, but I'm in South Africa. So it seems to be an African thing that I love that
Yes,
expression that
yes.
you just. What did you just repeat that expression? I want to memorize that. About
Policy without implementation.
Yes.
policy without implementation.
It's a good, yeah, 3 words. It's a good phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
it's a thing in South Africa as well. Tell me, in your school, do you have religious practice time? I'm asking that because in South Africa, although we also have a secular constitution and it's not supposed to happen, even in public schools, they have regular evangelism and preachers come and pastors come and you have to pray, and you have religious ceremonies. Do you have that in your private school? And I suppose then
Yes.
you have to partake,
Yeah.
because if you don't partake, it will be a definite out for you.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a serial lucky guy because I have yes. So my secondary school, I have to digress a little bit because before I answer your question, my secondary school happened to be a school where you would get locked from within the school compound when it is time for prayer. You must pray before you leave. But
Ah.
the school where I work is not like that. Um, for one thing, the proprietor of the school is a Christian,
Mm.
and this is a Muslim environment,
Mm.
and the school happens to be a religiously combined one for the purpose of for the reason that the proprietor is a Christian. Most Christians prefer to enroll their children in my school, and
Ah.
there are also a couple of Muslims in the school, so there is a diverse school. So as a result of that, my school doesn't lock you inside to pray before you leave, but then on Thursdays we usually organize extracurricular activities, uh, which is going to be conducted within 30 minutes, and there is 30 minutes for religious activities where the Christians would separate themselves from the Muslims. The Muslims will do their own, and the Christians would go to other part of the school and perform their religious
Uh-huh.
practices or activities. So
Yes.
in a situation like this, because stereotypically I look Muslim, in
Ah.
Nigeria, you know, yes, in Nigeria, stereotypically you can tell who a Muslim or a Christian
Ah.
is
See.
by mere looking, by mere looking at their faces.
Yes. Yes.
And
That's
in
that's
Nigeria, you could almost always say the tribe a person belongs to by looking at their
yes.
faces.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But
So
that's men rather than women, though, isn't it?
I think for women it's rather more obvious,
Oh, is
for
it? Okay.
hijab,
I was
you know.
thinking that men have the ability to grow that typical Muslim beard, whereas women don't.
Muslim women would have their faces covered, John. It would be very obvious. A
Well,
woman
you know,
with a woman with an
yes,
exposed face would be a Christian.
do the women have
yes.
their faces covered where you are, Evelyn?
Oh, yeah, they do.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
Because it's not always the case, is it? No. Anyway,
no, it is, except uh, there are varying degrees to which the body is
mm,
covered. You
yeah,
know,
mm,
in some extremely religious environments, everything is covered
yes,
from
yes,
from head to toe. In some
yes,
environments, at least she would need to wear um, what we call in Nigeria as half sunnah. This hijab, this mini hijab,
yeah, yeah,
that covers from the face to the shoulders, right?
yeah,
So we call it half sunnah. Yeah.
uh-huh. Mm. So,
You like the name?
do, I was going to ask you, how do you have many friends who you can come out to, or are you really in a closet of your own just because of your atheism?
Yeah. I have very few friends with whom I am free,
Oh,
and I open up to
mm,
them about more or less everything
mm,
about myself. But
mm.
most of them are Christians because I do have Christian friends.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So you haven't told us how you became an atheist, although it sounds like you were always a questioning person from very young. So it might have been just
Yes.
a gradual
Yeah.
process. Mm,
I think um, because I had a lot of unanswered questions,
mm,
and from the beginning, I was afraid, if not reluctant, of asking those questions. I was not disturbing myself about the answers. But then, I was talking about being introduced to the free Socratic philosophers.
yep.
So reading them gave me some more courage to
Yes. Yes.
continue
Mm,
to ask some of the questions I asked as a child, which I stopped asking at some point. So
mhm, mm,
anytime I ask those questions, I get you know people react to it in a way that makes me feel as if I I committed a crime.
mm, yeah.
While all I saw it as was a simple question. Is I was just trying to have a dialogue. I
Yeah.
was
Mm,
trying to have
mm,
an understanding, and I don't know why people get offended.
mm.
But I was not worried. Uh, but then, so through being introduced to the works of people like Virginia Woolf, and in Nigeria, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and a lot of other feminist writers.
Oh,
Then I started entertaining feminism,
uh-huh.
feminist ideologies,
Mm.
And you know, in Islam, it is clearly stated that a man is above woman,
Mm.
and one of the key issues Islam has with feminism is when it comes to uh, the vision of inheritance. Usually,
Yes.
uh, a woman gets a half of
Yes.
what
Mm.
a man would inherit. And when I started challenging those kinds of things, the usual answers I got was that usually the man, after the head of the family dies, happens to take all the burden of the family. The woman happens to live under the care of the man. So that's the logic behind giving man,
Yeah. Mm.
the but sometimes the woman happens to be more responsible than the man. So do we now give the woman the highest amount and the half of the amount is given to,
Mm.
when the man is irresponsible, the man still gets more.
Yeah. Yes. It's, but
So
that's
more or
not
less
always.
that's not the logic, is it?
No, it's not always
If it is the
fair
logic,
or
when
appropriate, is it?
yes, when it is the logic. So if the woman happens to be the responsible one and
Mm.
the man happens to be the irresponsible one,
Mm.
then the woman should take more and the man takes
Mm.
less, right? But it
Mm.
is not like that. So it's clearly stipulated that the man always gets more than the woman,
Mm.
you know. So when I made such post on my Facebook profile,
Mm.
I get friends going to my family, telling my parents about the things about my activities on Facebook.
Yep.
So my parents called me, and one of the things that annoys me much is being told that I was going against the Quran, as if going against the Quran was a thing, as if we have, I don't know, as if like so. In the beginning, it used to annoy me, and as time goes on, I stopped seeing this as an excuse for not thinking. Going against the Quran is not an excuse for for not thinking. Even if my my rationality is taking me away from the Quran, I think I should do what is logical than what is Quranic.
Mm. Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Because the Quran.
before, yeah, so it's a gradual thing. It's a
Hmm.
gradual thing because in the beginning I was afraid. I was actually afraid of going against the Quran like every other person.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then, I started from time to time as time goes on, gradually. So I developed the muscle to stand on my feet
The
and
strength.
and, and
Yes.
think and think for myself and not let Quran think for me.
Yes. Yes. Good for you.
So
Levelin, I want to ask you, would it be acceptable in your part of the world to say that you've now become a Christian? So I'm assuming that in your school, because you look Muslim, the Christians think that you are Muslim, and
yes,
the Muslims think that you are Christian, and meantime you sort of just go about and do your own thing. Is
no,
that
no,
possible, or not, does it not work like that?
no, it doesn't happen that way. I will still be in danger because
Mm.
Islam happens to be this religion
Mm.
where there is an entrance but there is no exit.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
I don't have to say much on this, do I?
No, no, it's Hotel California syndrome, isn't it? You,
Oh,
Yes.
you can check in, but you can't leave. Yes.
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I'm glad you got that. So you're very up to date. I see your Facebook group. You've got, is that Socrates and the banner at the top? And
Yeah.
then you've
But
got,
it's ironic. I disagree harshly with Plato. I think it's Plato. That's
Plato,
on
yes,
my,
yes.
yeah. I disagree philosophically harshly with Plato.
Well, Plato
Um,
didn't get everything right. No, you're
yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolutely on the
Mostly,
ball.
mostly, I disagree with Plato's um, allegory of the cave and stuff like that.
Because the thing
All the
about
shadow and all those things, all those metaphysics of Plato.
metaphysics, yes, yes, I'm not a fan of
Yeah, yeah,
metaphysics either. No, it's a theory which has got no bearing on reality whatsoever. Anyway,
yeah,
so Plato is the only person who writes about Socrates. So that there's a school of thought that says that Socrates may not have existed except as a character in Plato's writing, like a
yes,
playwright
yes,
would
yes,
put somebody in the story. So
yes.
I don't know what the
Yeah,
truth of
because
that is, but
yes, yes.
it's a
If
view.
not, yeah, if not, no, I think it shouldn't be a view because if not for Plato, we would not have
No,
none who
yeah, there would be no
who
Socrates. That's right.
wouldn't. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
So
yeah,
it is
you'll
what
be
it is.
interested. You might be interested to hear that next week our guest is a real live philosopher. Shall I tell you?
Wow.
Let me tell you
Well,
about. I don't normally plug at this stage of the conversation because we've still got another few minutes to chat. But next week we've got David Smith, who's a professor of philosophy. He's an award-winning author, and he's got a Substack called Dehumanization Matters. And I've read some of his writings, and they are phenomenal. I really recommend going to davidlivingston-smith.substack.com. I'll put it in a banner and we can look at it as it goes past.
okay.
So,
Levelin, I want to ask you, do you have free access to what shows like ours, for example? And would there be consequences? Do you need to make use of a VPN? Would anybody track you? Let's say you're sitting in your classroom and you're watching Free Thought Hour, and some child or colleague notices it. Could you get reported for that? Would you do something like that?
Um. Well, well, the Nigerian security system is not that advanced.
uh,
So
Good.
yeah, on the internet you can more or less do anything you like in Nigeria. They do not have the gadgets to
good,
trace the activities of every individual Nigerian. So I can watch anything I want to watch.
good.
And usually, if I want to listen or watch to any content that has to do with atheism,
Hmm.
I normally do it while I'm in my room.
Yes,
I and in my free hours.
yes, yes.
So I normally don't watch stuff like that at school.
No, you don't want to be caught watching it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
I want to also ask. I want to ask you a little bit about the emotional impact of being an atheist and a free thinker, because you're obviously a free thinker. You were a free thinker before you were an atheist. Do you sometimes feel lonely and isolated, and how does that impact your emotional well-being?
Tom, it is hard, I must say. At some point, I was depressed.
Mm,
Uh, because I would have a lot of problems. I would not want to communicate to anyone
yeah.
because I would not be understood. So
No.
there are times I wished I wasn't born. There are times I wished I could have the courage to take my life because I feel
Oh.
it takes a lot of courage to kill
Mm,
yourself because and usually I get depressed. I get sad when I
Mm.
think about my future in a country like Nigeria, where
Yes.
you don't have the freedom for no religion.
No.
You
Mm.
know, I think about which type of wife can I marry,
Yes.
and if
Yes.
I marry,
Mm.
how do I raise my kids?
Yes. Yes.
If my children realize or come to know about my disbelief, would they respect me?
Mm.
Would they believe in whatever they believe and respect my view and accept me as their father? How do I
Mm.
live? Should
Yes.
I continue living in the closet?
Yes.
You know, I still do
Religion.
not have I still do not have answers to these questions.
No.
Sometimes I wished I could leave this environment and go to
I
another
bet.
place where I would be free. I've
Yeah.
tried that in 2020. I relocated to southern Kaduna where the population is Christian,
Huh?
and then I noticed that religious difference is not the only, you know, thing that divides people. There is cultural factors,
Yes. Yes.
there are sectional factors, there are
Yes.
a lot of factors.
Yes.
Because when I before I tried living in another environment, I thought living in another environment would bring the freedom
Yes.
I hope to get. And going there, I was faced with brand new challenges I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting.
Mm.
So, it was, it's yesterday somebody was accusing me for being hopeless, and I was trying to uh, differentiate the fact that uh, you know you can call me somebody who is combining the philosophy of existentialism, absurdism, and nihilism all at once.
No.
Mm.
But I cannot be identified with any. You
Mm.
cannot call me a nihilist
No.
because I love the world. You know,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
it's beautiful. It's
Mm.
beautiful. I love to live. I want to live as long as I can, as peacefully as I can.
Yes. Mm.
And um,
It's a privilege to
also,
be
yeah,
alive,
it's
isn't it?
yes. I like Aldous Huxley's poem, "A Million Spermatozoa." I cannot remember the line. I know you
Yes.
can relate, right? Yeah,
Yes.
I love it. I love it. It's that thing. So
Yes.
uh,
Well, Evelyn,
I don't want to.
I want.
So there are many things. So I believe life does not have meaning in the sense that uh, everything we hope to achieve, everything we hope to get in life, no matter how hard we work for it to
We
get
create
it,
our own
no
meaning.
matter no matter how long it takes us to get it, we will die and leave it behind.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
for me, that is meaningless. For me, meaning is if we can get those things we toiled for, if we can be in possession of them forever. If we cannot possess them forever, why sacrifice? We sacrifice for the things we love. If we want to, in my own story, I like to be educated. I have sacrificed a lot for education. I worked hard, but I could die the day I got my degree or the
Mm.
second.
Yes. Mm. Could happen to
you
all
know
of us.
so it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But then I also share in the existentialist story,
Yes.
because I think I love the ride. I want to keep the wheel turning. You get me?
Yes.
I want to wake up in the morning and get out and do something.
Yes. Yes.
And
Absolutely.
you know,
Yes.
it's
You.
nice, in its own
Yes.
way.
Yes. Of
And
course.
and in the myth of Sisyphus, Albert Camus said, uh, the struggle itself towards the height is enough to
Yes.
fill a man's heart. One
Yes.
must imagine Sisyphus happy. Even though all those things we worked, we sacrificed, we die and kill for, in the grand scheme of things, do not matter.
No.
But the struggle itself,
Yes.
it's something. But
That's
so
right.
that
It's
person,
the journey rather than the arrival, isn't it? Do you know,
yes,
we're running out of time here, but since you brought up the poem A Million Million Spermatozoa, I've got it
yes,
on screen now. I could play it. Aldous Huxley is reading it.
yes.
Take a listen to this.
All right.
While we wait, I'll stop speaking the minute we got the poem playing. I just want to say that
Can
I
you
didn't
not
think.
hear it? Is it not
No,
coming?
no, nothing's coming up on my side. Don't
Yes.
know.
Yeah, I can't hear you too.
You couldn't hear it. Okay, right.
No, no. But please, I know.
I'll put it in. I'll put it in the details underneath.
Yeah, John is very strict about time. But Levelyn, I just want to say that I am currently going through the training to become a volunteer for Recovering from Religion. I hope you have heard from them. And I just want to also say that you are never alone. Thank you to the internet. I can identify with the loneliness that you must be feeling, living in where you and doing what you're doing and being isolated.
Yeah.
And we are social species, and we need interaction. We need community. And you being somebody who thinks and being somebody
Yeah.
who wants to get your ideas out there, keep at it. Hopefully, one day you will have enough money and you can travel to South Africa, and we can meet up, and maybe, one never knows, we can get the message out there, and that the kind of isolation that you have to live with, at the real threat of your livelihood and your safety, is something that many people never think about. And that's why I think this was and is such an important episode of Free Thought Hour. And
Absolutely.
although my life is way more free than yours, I can identify, because atheists in South Africa pay the social price that you probably pay socially, intellectually, physically, and in many other ways. And I would just like to encourage you to keep going. It was lovely
Yes.
to meet you. And when reach out and make contact, you are not alone. And keep on making meaning. I love what you're doing. I love that you're a teacher, and I hope that teachers are weird things. We influence our students in ways that we can't imagine, and
Yes.
students are extremely perceptive, and they can spot a thinking teacher, and you are making a difference. So thank you for giving us your time, and we'd love to hear from you again when you have that degree in your hand. Keep going.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and thank you for that homily too, Tertia. That was wonderful. So next week it's David Livingstone Smith, who I
Okay.
strongly recommend you visit his Substack and read some of his dehumanizing content. So
Well,
look forward to that.
I would have to wait um until after exams.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I've been I've missed classes
Don't do that.
past few weeks because yeah, I have to go to work.
Yeah,
So
we
for my
all.
work, I have to
Yes.
miss some classes. So I want
We,
to engage myself in my studies for some months to prepare for my exams, and I have a lot of assignments to write. So I'll
yes.
be very busy
Yes.
that I may not have time to read some extra materials.
Okay.
So
Prioritize study for your exams. That's important.
yes,
Guys, you've been wonderful. Thank you very
thank you.
much.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
viewers.
Thank you. Thanks.